all right. It's your favorite clickbait artist, according to some of y'all out there in the interweb. Anyway, it's your favorite political innovator, David Washington, here again with another edition of Battlefield Correspondent. This is day 5. That was yesterday in District 1 at the Recreation Center there in Winter Garden. So we had Mark Arias submit his map for review, and Gordon Spears has 2 that were submitted for review next week. But Mark's map was submitted, and we reviewed it. And for my review, there were some things that I was not comfortable with in regards to the splitting up of so many different communities. I believe that Arias focused too much on the growth numbers for the municipalities versus the growth numbers of the communities. And that seems to be a sticking point with members of the community who have come. And again, I encourage everyone to view these meetings or at least attend these meetings and offer public comment. However, the issue of growth has been a contentious issue. Again, as Cynthia Harris stated in her comment, in her public comment, that we're halfway through this decade. In 5 years, there's going to be another redistricting committee to redraw these maps because of the centennial census. Very true. So what we're doing right now is pretty much the pregame to what we'll see at the end of the decade, and will pretty much set the tone for how those maps look like. Also, I want to point out a comment by Dr. Nichols, and one thing that really struck me as profound was the fact that she said that we have to understand that there's a lot of conversation about growth, about growth in Orange County, Florida, and Central Florida in general. However, there's a perception of growth versus the reality. And this is why I made the statement I said to the advisory board and to our legal staff and our administrative staff, is that as a member of the advisory board for code appeals and adjustments, there was a mid-year report given by the building supervisor. And in it talks about the number of permits for new housing, for commercial, retail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I encourage everyone to review these minutes, review the minutes from the different advisory boards, and also, when available, watch the Orange TV recordings of these advisory boards, because the reality is being discussed at these meetings, like the Board of County Commissioners, versus the perception, a lot of talk in the community. And so I was saying, and I think our co-chair Tico Perez didn't understand the point I was making, was that I'm not asking that we look at the permitting data. It does show you a trend, but it's not a true representation of the information that's out there that give us an idea of what the growth could look like. What I was saying is that there's so much conversation about looking at different data sets, about anticipating growth and using that information, making our decisions on how we create our maps, that where do we draw the line? Because for me, and let me make this incredibly clear, for me, the line starts and ends at the 2020 census data. That's what we're charged with. That's legally what we must look at, okay? And so that's the line for me. However, when I've asked legal and asked our staff about How many more layers do we add to the software to look at the numbers that we're looking at to create our maps? It's going to get convoluted. And the definition of growth is different from me, different from Rishi Baga, different from Mark Arias, Tom Callan, Jimmy Afant, so forth and so on. My definition of growth, the data set that I would use, preferably the voter history, the voter data set, I prefer to use, but I can't and I won't, because that's not the law. The law is the 2020 census data. The rules are the 2020 census data. And that's the point that I'm moving from. Yes, is it older data? It is. However, this is what we've been charged with. And remember, this is very contentious. This is probably one of the most contentious charter amendments that was voted on. 50.85% of y'all voted for this. Okay? Voted for this charter amendment to move from 6 districts, county commission districts, to 8 county commission districts. So about 600,000, less than 600,000 of Orange County residents, Orange County voters voted on this particular charter amendment, and it was incredibly close. So it's not as popular as people think, this whole process of creating the 8 districts, and it's very contentious. However, as an advisory board member to the Mid-Decennial, what is it, the Mid-Decennial? Mid-Decennial Redistricting Advisory Committee, I'm tasked to make sure that we draw these county commission districts fairly. So this has been a very long, I intend for it to be a very long battlefield correspondent segment. We will be at District 3 at the Renaissance Recreation Center, Senior Center on Econ, the Kanahachi Road. Next week, I believe it's Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember, but you all know where to go to get the information. Just type in Orange County Redistricting Committee 2025 and Google will take you there. So again, thank you for being a part of this process. I encourage everyone to be involved, and remember, there's the perception of growth, and then there's the reality of growth. And as members of the community, we must understand this and understand that this committee is charged with something that's very important for all of us, and we take our job seriously. So again, David Washington from Jay in Washington, thank you. I appreciate you. Love you. God bless. We will see you the next